Chapter 73, At the End of the Branch of Fate, 1. I sat facing Baekpyo at the Wind Tavern. It was before the tavern opened, and at this moment, we were facing each other not as owner and customer, but as lord and vassal. When I took in new subordinates, I treated them according to their age. Even with Jongyo and Gongsu-chan, I didn't speak down to them. But with Baekpyo, I wanted to treat him like the Baekpyo of the past. So I told him in advance that I would speak to him comfortably. Of course, Baekpyo readily accepted. What happened with the tavern? Now I could freely ask questions I hadn't been able to before. In truth, I was happy just looking at him. I often came here with the former alliance leader. He liked this place. As I came here frequently, I gradually grew fond of it. Then, when the alliance leader passed away, I couldn't stay in the alliance anymore. It felt like his death was entirely my fault. Baekpyo bowed his head deeply. My heart ached thinking about how much he had cared for me. But Baekpyo, as if realizing his mistake, quickly added, "I'm sorry. I should refrain from talking about the former alliance leader as much as possible. He was probably worried that mentioning his previous master might upset me, but my dear man, that story is about me too. It's all right. Isn't our current enemy the martial righteous alliance leader? It would be strange not to mention the former alliance leader in this situation. Feel free to mention him in the future. Moreover, wasn't he someone you liked? I'm grateful that you think that way. Since we're on the topic of the alliance leader, I think there's someone behind Ma Bongi. He's not capable of becoming the alliance leader on his own." Baekpyo wasn't very surprised. "I think that's entirely possible. The White Tiger Regiment commander was the position closest to the alliance leader. Having shared in what the alliance leader saw and heard, he naturally knew a lot about the martial righteous alliance and the martial world. How could someone like him not have doubts about Ma Bongi becoming the alliance leader? It's just that the White Tiger Regiment was an organization for protection, the most apolitical in nature, so he hadn't mentioned anything. If there's a greater enemy, there's someone we absolutely need. Who might that be? The former commander-in-chief, Gal Sariang. I pretended not to know, but I had expected Gal Sariang to be the answer. Baekpyo told me various things about Gal Sariang. Of course, it was all information I already knew, and the conclusion was that we should recruit him because he has tremendous abilities. If I have to leave this place, I need to meet Commander Gal before that. He needed to inform him about serving me as his new master and offering me the Azura Bright King sword. If he left without informing him of these facts, Gal Sariang would be very worried. Moreover, it was an even bigger issue because Baekpyo had been in possession of the Azura Bright King sword. But now it's not easy to meet him. I don't know for sure, but Commander Gal is probably under Sima Chion's surveillance. Let him know when the time comes, slowly. If we move hastily, not only us but Commander Gal will also be in danger." "You're right. At least Sima Chion believed that I had destroyed the Azura Bright King's sword, so he wouldn't harass Gal Sariang because of the sword. You must never forget. To achieve our great goal, we must definitely gain Commander Gal. However, gaining Gal Sariang would be as difficult as gaining Baekpyo. The reason I was able to gain Baekpyo this time was because Guangdu caused trouble and the Azura Bright King sword resonated. It was truly a stroke of heavenly luck. We'll need great luck with Gal Sariang too. At least now that Baekpyo is on my side, it might be a little easier if Baekpyo persuades him. But for now, I plan to leave him be. I know Gal Sariang better than anyone. If he stayed in the Martial Righteous Alliance, it means he has something he must do there. If fate led me to Baekpyo, it will someday lead me to Gal Sariang too. I will wait for that time." This time, I told him in detail about our Biok clan sword manor. About my father and mother, the sword squad and the minor sword squad, and even that faction leader Jongyo of Yang minor faction had sworn loyalty to me. My first goal is to completely dominate Shandong. In fact, Yang minor faction, the #1 sect in Shandong, was already under me, and the Song clan, which could be considered the second, was in an absolute friendly relationship with us. In this situation, if we can grow the Biok clan sword manor into the #1 sect in Shandong, we could be said to have dominated more than half of Shandong. This is what you'll need to help me with in the future." Baekpyo listened to my words with sparkling eyes. "If you've lived behind the scenes as a guard martial artist until now, from now on, become someone who fights at the very front." "Understood." One fortunate thing was that because he was a guard martial artist who didn't reveal himself, not many people knew Baekpyo. Even among the high-ranking officials of the martial righteous alliance, there were those who didn't know Baekpyo. So even if he goes to Shandong, almost no one will recognize him. Even if someone does recognize him, it wouldn't be strange. It was common for retired high-level experts from the martial righteous alliance to join ordinary sects. What are you currently working on in Wuhan? I'm creating a small merchant group. Then what should I do? Before I tell you what you should do, there's an urgent matter I need to discuss. What is it? It will probably take at least a month or two for us to finish our work in Wuhan and return to Shandong. How about your family stays at our home during that time? Baekpyo was surprised, as if he hadn't expected this. It wasn't an easy suggestion to make. The couple would have to be separated, and he would have to part from his young son. Not just for this time, but I'd like your family to live with our family in the future. As one family. That would be safer in many ways. Moreover, for the various tasks we'll need to do in the future, Baekpyo needs to be able to move freely. I think you won't have to worry about the two of them if my parents look after them. I'm grateful, but I'm worried about causing trouble. Probably, family was what concerned Baekpyo the most. My friend, what trouble? Your family is the same as my family. Baekpyo's eyes wavered slightly as he looked at me. His emotion was understandable. I was telling the truth. Will you do that? Yes, I will. Thank you, young master. Ha ha ha. Good. You thought very well. I was so pleased. After all, I was someone who wanted Baekpyo's family to be safe more than anyone. Keep running the Wind Tavern for now. We'll decide what to do with this place just before we return to Shandong. Yes, understood. I judged that it would be better to continue operating the tavern for now, as there were still things to do in Wuhan, especially the issue with Gal Sariang. I'm thinking of visiting home briefly in a few days. I'll take your family with me then, so spend some good time with your family until then. Yes. Understood. I raised my cup and toasted with Baekpyo. Although I didn't particularly like alcohol, today's drink was delicious. It made me understand why people drink. Martial artist Baek. I called him softly and familiarly. Yes. You don't need to fight for the peace of the martial world. Fight for your family. That's what I'm doing too. I knew that sometimes, this can be a stronger force than any great cause. Baekpyo would also understand well the meaning behind my words. I'll keep that in mind, young master. That day, I drank with Baekpyo until very late. It was the most drunk I had been since I started drinking. 2 days later. This time, Baekpyo and Guangdu sat facing each other at the Wind Tavern. Baekpyo had called for Guangdu. Thank you for coming that day. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have formed a connection with the young master. Thank you. Guangdu smiled happily. In fact, Guangdu had agonized a lot before visiting that day. To be honest, he was afraid of being pushed aside. But then he thought, truly caring for someone means being able to put aside your own selfishness for their happiness. Now that he thought about it, he felt he had done the right thing. The good result made him feel proud. Have a drink. Yes. In fact, Guangdu liked Baekpyo. He felt an inexplicable sense of reassurance. How should I put it? Like having a big brother. Indeed, if he hadn't liked him, he wouldn't have visited that day. I look forward to working with you. Baekpyo clinked his cup vigorously against Guangdu's raised cup. Likewise, I look forward to working with you. The next day, I headed to Shandong with Zhongyang and Myongai. Since we were traveling with a 7-year-old child, I rented a large and comfortable carriage. We rested frequently if Myongai showed even the slightest sign of fatigue, and we made a relaxed schedule of always staying at an inn in the afternoon. At the inns, I treated them to good rooms and delicious food. With all these efforts, Zhongyang was touched, although she felt burdened. In fact, although she doesn't know it, I was the one who read the congratulatory speech at their wedding. That was already 9 years ago. As I got closer to the two of them, one day Zhongyang said this to me. My husband used to have nightmares constantly. But strangely, he's been sleeping well since meeting you. Thank you so much. This was also the reason why she had a great liking for me from the moment we first met. I'm glad to hear that. Please take good care of my husband in the future. I should be the one saying that. I'll be in your care from now on. After more than 10 days of travel like this, we returned home. Father, Mother. I'm back. My father and mother welcomed us warmly. I had sent a message before departure to let them know I was coming with Jongyang and her son. The two of them warmly welcomed Jongyang. Welcome, Lady Jong. Welcome. Jongyang greeted them politely. I'm Jongyang. Please take care of us. Myong-ah, you should greet the elders. Myong-I greeted my father and mother. Nice to meet you. I'm Myong-I. How clearly the 7-year-old boy spoke. Mother sat down in front of Myong-I and made eye contact with the child. So you're Myong-I. Who do you take after to be so handsome? My mom. He turned to look at Jongyang. Mother laughed and said, looking at your social skills, I don't think we need to worry about you in the future. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed at Mother's joke. Let's get along well from now on. Mother hugged Myong-I tightly. Jongyang had a touched expression seeing her son being genuinely cherished. Father said to Jongyang, please consider this your home and stay comfortably from now on. Thank you. Father asked me, how were things in Hubei? It went very well. I accomplished everything I had planned, and especially, I met an excellent martial artist named Baekpyo. He will be a great strength for our clan's future. That's good. Father smiled with satisfaction. Always remember to consider the other person's position when making any decision. I'll keep that in mind. Mother took Jongyang's hand. Being a martial arts family, it's always bustling with men. All they talk about is fighting. So I've been quite lonely, but now I'm happy to have someone to talk to. Let's get along well. Jongyang was inwardly flustered by Mother's warm welcome. She hadn't expected to be welcomed so warmly and without formality. Strictly speaking, these were the parents of the person her husband had decided to serve. It was a very difficult relationship. But they were treating her both comfortably and preciously. Come, I've prepared a room, let's go see it together. The room Mother introduced was in a building not far from Father and Mother's bedroom. It was the largest and best among the guest rooms. The interior was well furnished and clean. You can stay here from now on. Myong-I excitedly climbed onto a small bed at the side. Wow! I have my own bed. Clean bedding was prepared on the beds for Jongyang and Myong-I. That wasn't all. Mother had meticulously prepared new clothes and various items needed for women and children for Jongyang, who was newly settling in. Jongyang was very flustered. We don't need such a good room. She probably thought she would get a corner room in some annex and live helping with household chores. Do you not like the room? No, that's not it. This is the worst room we have, what should we do? If you want a better room. No. We'll use this room. With that, Jongyang couldn't refuse anymore. Of course, as she would find out later, this was actually the best room. When I sent word home, I had asked Mother separately to take special care of them, as they were the family of someone precious to me. It was beyond what I had imagined. Mother's expression as she looked at me showed pride, as if saying, how's that? Your mother is at least this good. When Jongyang wasn't looking, I gave Mother a thumbs up. Mother, you're the best. If you're clumsily strong, family becomes a burden and a weakness. But I know. For truly strong people, family becomes genuine strength. Today, my family grew, and so did my strength. Chapter 74, at the end of the Branch of Fate, 2. The next day, I convened the minor sword squad. Although it hadn't been long since I last saw them, I could sense their changes. Have you been well? Yes. The sword squad members answered vigorously. A martial artist doesn't show themselves through words. Show me how you've been doing through actions. The sword squad members split into two sides, creating a space in the middle. Then, 5 members at a time came forward and demonstrated their skills. Just by looking at their forms, I could see their achievements. The minor sword squad had definitely grown. At the center of this remarkable progress was Guan Huai. His stamina had improved significantly, and he was executing techniques much more powerfully and accurately. Moreover, his throwing knife skills had improved greatly, now able to hit the target more than 3 times in a row from 30 paces away. As promised, I'll teach you how to throw knives with internal energy infusion. Thank you. Guan Huai's expression was elated. Those who had been practicing throwing knives with him looked envious, but I only taught Guanhui how to use internal energy. This was because if they tried to infuse internal energy clumsily when their skills weren't up to par, it could lead to accidents. Guanhui demonstrated in front of everyone. Swish! When thrown with internal energy infusion, the speed increased dramatically. The watching sword squad members cheered. To the excited Guanhui, I calmly said, "It's not always better to throw knives with internal energy infusion." "Why is that?" "When a swordsman needs to use throwing knives, it's usually in urgent situations. If you overdo it in a hurry, it might conflict with your sword's internal energy usage and cause internal injuries." "Ah, I understand. But if you practice enough, you'll be able to freely adjust your internal energy each time." Guanhui grinned. He would certainly aim for sufficient practice. "Do you remember what I told you before? You said it's okay to go a little slower. That it's good to work hard, but overdoing it can backfire." "Yes, it's good that you haven't forgotten." Just teaching Guanhui was enough to stimulate everyone. The fact that greater rewards come to those who work harder. I believe that such stimulation is necessary for an organization. That's also why I made Guangdu and Guanhui compete. I'm thinking of accepting new sword squad members next spring. Everyone looked excited at the news of new members joining. I was thinking of expanding by 2 more teams to 40 members, as originally planned. Train hard so you won't be embarrassed in front of your juniors. Yes. Understood. I checked each sword squad member's posture one by one. Although it was just brief guidance, for them it was teaching that could help them achieve a whole new level of martial arts progress, depending on the case. Come on, boys, get stronger quickly. The meeting was dragging on. Song Warren was also attending, sitting in a corner of the guest hall at Song Clan. Today, they were dealing with matters concerning the Eastern Sword Manor 1. It had been 2 months since she started learning about Song Clan's affairs by following her father. There were various matters every day. Some days they had to hold meetings all day like this, and on other days they had to use force to subdue opponents. At first, she thought it wouldn't be too difficult, but running a sect wasn't as easy as she had imagined. Even today, the subtle power play continued, and the same discussions were being repeated. Although Song Warren felt really frustrated by the unreasonable demands of the other side, she tried her best not to show her emotions. At times like this, she thought her father was truly amazing. If it were her, she would have stormed out of the room several times. But her father continued negotiating with them patiently. Sometimes coaxing, sometimes taking a strong stance. As the only daughter, she would have to take over the family business someday and do this work herself. Can I really do it? She worried whether she could handle conversations without getting angry, like her father. After another half hour, the meeting finally ended. Fortunately, it concluded without disadvantage to Song Clan. When they came out of the guest hall, Song Wugayong smiled and said, "Was it tough?" "I just sat there." "You had it tough, father. You worked hard." "Ha ha." It was reassuring to have you there. She could feel it. Her father's purpose wasn't just to teach her about the business. Her father had been feeling lonely lately. The desire to have someone by his side, the essential loneliness that only a daughter could sense. Is father getting old now? Just the thought made her heart sink. When she returned to her room, Su Ran came to report. Master Biok has been waiting for a while. When she went outside, Biok Ridan was waiting in the garden. "When did you arrive?" "Just a little while ago." "Have you been well?" "I've been fine." "Did you just return from Hubei?" "I have to go back again in a few days." "You're busy." At the news that he was leaving again, she felt a surge of disappointment. And she was surprised to realize she felt this disappointment. She stared at Biok Ridan for a moment. No other man could look at her with such a calm gaze. "You give me a different feeling every time I see you." At Song Warren's words, Biok Ridan asked curiously, "How so?" "I can't express it in words, but..." She trailed off, but she was feeling it. He had become stronger. His body looked firmer, and his eyes had deepened to the point of transparency. His martial arts skills must have improved as well. Honestly, she was attracted to Biok Ridan. When she heard he had come, she was greatly pleased, and when she saw his face, the fatigue from the earlier meeting completely vanished. But she didn't want to reveal these feelings. She had been the one to suggest breaking off the engagement first, so she couldn't now say her heart had changed. Afraid her feelings might show, she changed the subject. You have 2 swords. Her gaze turned to my swords. I was carrying 2 swords at my waist. One was the Thousand-Bird sword, and the other was the Azura Bright King sword. I had no intention of modifying the Azura Bright King sword. It was originally a sword that didn't stand out, so at a glance, it was hard to recognize it as the Azura Bright King sword. Still, just in case, I had wrapped dark cloth around the handle. Since there were martial artists who wrapped rough-textured cloth around sword handles to prevent slipping, it wouldn't look too strange. At first, I thought about keeping the Azura Bright King sword in the secret room of Immortal Crane Peak. But I decided not to. Since the sword had sought me out on its own, I would always keep it by my side. As I was becoming more familiar with the Immortal Crane's secret art, there was rarely a need to draw the Azura Bright King sword. If a situation arose where I needed to draw the Azura Bright King sword, it would be a chaotic situation anyway. Also, since there was no need to carry 2 swords around, I was thinking of giving the modified Thousand-Bird sword to someone soon. I tapped the Azura Bright King sword and said, I got a decent sword. Shall we take a walk? Sure. I walked with her in the backyard. The winter air was cold. But as cold as it was refreshing. It was winter when I first met her, and now it was winter again. There had been many changes over the past year. Both I and she had changed a lot. Thank you for taking care of my mother while I was away. Don't mention it. It's just what I should do. By the way, how's that technique you were working on last time? She was in the process of modifying her technique that had a fatal flaw. I'm still working on it. Trying this way and that. It's not as easy as I thought. When I think I've found a proper method, I'll show you. Will you check it for me then? Of course. I was impressed that she was still trying to figure it out on her own. Yes, her skills would improve a lot in the process of finding it. Shall we have a drink? I said it without thinking, then belatedly realized my mistake. Ah, sorry. You don't drink, right? Then she threw out an unexpected suggestion. Let's have one. Instead of getting drunk on alcohol, I can get drunk on the atmosphere. I'll treat. The name of the tavern we went to together was Phoenix, too. This tavern with a special name was located about halfway between Chufu and Chucheng. She guided us there, saying there was a place with a nice atmosphere. Although it was quite a distance, I didn't regret coming once we arrived. Usually, when you think of a tavern, you imagine cooks shouting from the kitchen, busy servers running around, merchants and martial artists drinking and talking about the martial world. It's noisy and bustling, similar wherever you go. But this place was different. In the brightly lit and clean establishment, musicians were playing instruments, and there was even a stage to one side. It had the atmosphere of a banquet hall tavern. Seeing me look around, she said, "What's wrong? You look like it's your first time here." "It is my first time. I know you often drank here with women." Well, that rascal Byok Aridan wouldn't have not visited a place like this. Perhaps because of the good atmosphere, most of the customers were couples. Following the guiding server, we sat at a table to the side. We ordered drinks and food, and tea for her. "When did you come here?" "When I first returned and heard you often came here." "I came once." I was curious what kind of place it was. It was an unexpected reason. Soon after, the drinks and food arrived. It was about twice as expensive as a regular tavern, but rather than the taste being special, this place competed with its atmosphere. Drinking while listening to the soft flowing music created a strange mood. These days I'm seriously learning about Song clan affairs. I had met Song Wugayong and Song Warren once while riding in a carriage with Ma Jongsu. It seemed they were returning from handling Song clan business then too. The work is harder than I thought. I nodded in sympathy. Me too. But you're doing well, aren't you? Honestly, your minor sword squad was a stimulus for me. It made me want to do as well as that. But it's just difficult, and I haven't even properly started yet. She made a troubled expression and drank her tea as if it were alcohol. She's now 21 years old. It's difficult, isn't it? How could it not be difficult for a 21-year-old youth? Sometimes even I feel this martial world is too overwhelming. As you do it, you'll get used to it, and then you'll be able to do well. You think so? Of course. I raised my cup. She raised her teacup to toast. Let's do our best. Dancers came up on the stage. The soft music changed to fast music. The dancers began to dance, and we watched for a while. I envy people who dance well. How can they dance like that? At her words, I smiled and said, I think you dance well too. Song Warren waved her hands and shook her head. I'm a complete log. Ha ha. Talking about dance reminds me of the Empress of Pleasure, an absolute master of the demonic faction from the past. Her unique martial art was the death god dance. It was a dance of death that sucked out the internal energy of people who were entranced by the dance. She really was the ultimate dancer. Of course, she danced a seductive dance as her final secret technique, even stripping naked, but in the end, she was torn apart by my sword. Song Warren applauded the dancers. Ah, it's wonderful. I joined in the applause. They really dance well. Watching the dancers, I realized one thing. That although I had seen countless dances by dancers at numerous banquets, I had never watched their dance this closely before. I was always busy. At banquets, I always had to meet many people and was busy conversing with them. I treated the dancers' performances as mere background. Like a painting on the wall. I lived thinking it was natural for there to be dancers at a banquet hall. This tavern is the same. If I hadn't come here with her, I wouldn't have known such a place existed. Although I act as if I know everything about the martial world because I lived for 70 years, things I don't know exist in this martial world like this. There are things I haven't experienced. The realization with Chilo in the carriage was like this too. Words casually uttered, but things I had never properly recognized. To enter the realm of the mind sword, I spent many hours a day in meditation, and read all sorts of difficult martial arts manuals and scriptures. I read books containing the wisdom of sages, and books left by scholars, painters, and musicians. But even so, I couldn't enter the realm of the mind sword. Now I feel it. That great truths are not found in grand places. That they are in a single unremarkable word, in a dancer's dance, in a mole cricket or an ant. I am a person who has decided to live this life differently. It's not about living differently just by vaguely having a different job or meeting different people. I felt the need to look at the world anew. So when I see things I haven't seen before, I can finally live a new life, and I became convinced that at the end of that path lies the realm of the mind sword. I could gain some kind of enlightenment even at this place today. Oh? Come to think of it. Coincidentally, I had gained 2 realizations in this life not from martial arts training, but from everyday life. And both times in the company of women. Does this mean I need to go around meeting women to reach the realm of the mind sword? Chapter 75, at the end of Branch of Fate, 3. In my previous life, I wasn't a novice when it came to women. I wasn't a womanizer who chased after women, but I still had many around me. At that time, I was the world's greatest, and to put it crudely, many women threw themselves at me. As I mentioned before, I even dated the world's most beautiful woman back then. Of course, the relationship ended because of her family's attempts to use me for power, rather than because of the woman herself. I met countless beauties, including the 4 great beauties of the Central Plains, and the most beautiful women from various regions. I encountered many women where even now, it's difficult to conclude whether it was love, lust, or just a casual relationship. After meeting and parting with a beautiful woman, I wanted to meet an even more beautiful one, and then an even more beautiful one after that. It kept going on and on like that. If I hadn't become the alliance leader of the Murim back then, I might have fallen completely into that pursuit. Even if I knew it was nothing more than an indulgence that would leave nothing behind in the end. The swamp of pleasure was the deepest and most dangerous quagmire, and the more I would have struggled to escape, the deeper I would have sunk. What are you thinking about? Song Warren's words snapped me out of my reverie. Old girlfriends? I couldn't answer that. Nothing. Just remembering a woman who used to dance well. Who? It's nothing. Here, have a drink. I raised my cup. She raised her teacup and clinked it against mine again. The dancers had left the stage, and soft music filled the hall once more. She stared intently at my empty cup as she set it down, so I asked, "Would you like a drink?" "No." She shook her head. We continued to chat about various topics, from the martial arts world of Shandong to stories about our parents. "Your mother is really a wonderful person." She probably felt that way even more because her own mother had passed away early. That's because you haven't been hit by my mother's fist yet. Really? She seemed so dignified. He. You'll find out later. The one punch hidden behind that dignity. I raised my fist, and she chuckled. The drinking session with her was as pleasant as the atmosphere of this place. We finished a whole bottle of alcohol and continued talking for a long time before leaving. I don't know what Songwarin thought, but I didn't find my time with her boring. I had fun. She smiled at my words. Me too. She was definitely much more beautiful when she smiled. Just then, a group of martial artists rode past on horses in front of the tavern. There were about 10 martial artists wearing the same uniform, and the aura of the man leading at the front was quite impressive. I could feel it even as they quickly passed by. The horses that had galloped past us suddenly came to a halt. The man at the front dismounted and began walking towards us. I saw it. Songwarin tensing up as she recognized the man. The man looked at Songwarin with a surprised expression and said, "I thought it might be you, and I was right. Sister. It is you, isn't it?" I was also startled by the term sister. Senior brother. From Songwarin's address, I could tell that the two were martial siblings. What happened? Why did you suddenly return home without saying goodbye? It just turned out that way. Songwarin introduced the man. This is my senior brother Ho Yuntak, 1, from the Ho Yun clan, 2, and this is... I didn't even give her a chance to hesitate with my introduction. I'm Byok Ri Dan, Warin's betrothed. Ah, the one from the prenatal engagement. That's right. Nice to meet you. I'm finally seeing you today. I'm Tak, Rin's senior brother. He seemed to have a bright and straightforward personality. His gaze toward Songwarin didn't show any emotions beyond that of a senior brother. Please take good care of our sister. That's what I should be saying. Songwarin asked Ho Yuntak. What brings you here? I came down with Master to take care of some business in Shandong. At the mention of Master, Songwarin's expression hardened visibly. Master came too. Yes. He came along this time. He'll be happy to see you. Make sure to visit us. We're staying at the Jiyu Clan Manor, 3, in Jusong. I have to go now because I'm busy, but make sure you come. All right. Ho Yuntak also greeted me. Then I'll see you next time. Of course. Ho Yuntak left with his group. I could feel her mood plummet to rock bottom. Shall we head back now? As I turned to leave first, she grabbed my sleeve. Let's have a drink. For real this time. There was a shabby tavern not far from there. This time, we drank there. Songwarin downed several shots of alcohol in quick succession, as if trying to drink all the alcohol she had been holding back until now at once. I silently watched her actions. Eventually, Songwarin told me the story she had kept hidden deep in her heart. It was about her master. I started learning martial arts from my master when I was 15. My father was so happy that I got a master from the Ho Yun clan. The Ho Yun clan was one of the 4 great families of the martial arts world, second only to the 5 great sects of the Central Plains in reputation. At first, it was fine. My master really treated me well. But as I grew older, my master's gaze changed. Even then, I didn't want to believe it. He had cherished me like his own daughter. When I turned 20, one night, I opened my eyes to find my master looking down at me. The smell of alcohol was overwhelming. I could tell from his eyes. He wanted to embrace me. My master was hesitating. Whether to pounce on me or not. I jumped up and slapped my master's cheek. My mind went blank, and I wasn't thinking straight. I immediately ran out of the sect and returned home. Tears welled up in her eyes. Now I could understand clearly why she hated alcohol. She had returned home like that. And then I, drunk, went to her house and caused a scene. I really wanted to apologize and bow on behalf of that Byok Aridan bastard. I could also understand why she wanted to succeed based on her abilities alone, not her appearance. She was sick of men who approached her only for her looks. I couldn't tell my father about it. I just made up a story that I had finished my martial arts training and returned. After that day, I was plagued by nightmares every day. Even now, I dream of that day. No matter how much I try to comfort myself that it's all in the past, that nothing happened, it doesn't help. It must be because of the betrayal by someone she trusted. Eventually, tears streamed down her face. Baekpyo was like that, and so was she. Everyone was suffering from their own wounds, even having nightmares. The thought made my heart ache. After wiping her tears with her sleeve, she emptied another cup of alcohol. Did you hear from your master after that? She shook her head at my question. No. There was no contact at all. I thought the relationship had completely ended, but... You said you're still having nightmares? Then it's not over yet. No. It's all in the past. Ah. I don't know either. She held up an empty cup, and I filled it for her. When she drank, I drank with her. I didn't offer any separate words of comfort. No particular words of consolation came to mind. As a man living in the same era, I just felt sorry. Yes, if you can relieve it like this, then do it. Drink, get angry. Shout if you want to shout, curse if you want to curse. Even small things, if you keep nurturing them in your heart, what starts as a fingernail-sized ball that a dung beetle rolls can grow to the size of a great mountain later. That shouldn't happen. Dung should just end as dung. I carried her on my back as we returned home. While on my back, she mumbled something. Don't hate me too much. I'm trying, you know. I don't hate you. Really? Yes. Chomp. Song Warren bit my shoulder mercilessly. Ouch. Liar. You do hate me. This girl. I was about to get angry, but she had already fallen asleep, breathing softly. I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't dislike her behavior. Today, she had confided in me something that is really difficult for a woman to say. She had shown her trust in me. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've been bitten by a woman. We arrived home at dawn. I thought the Song clan would be in a state of emergency, but surprisingly, their reaction was calm. Surang glared at me sharply, but she couldn't hide her joy and relief that Song Warren was safe. Since she went out with you, I wasn't worried. Song Woo-gyeong's unchanging trust made the effort of carrying her back melt away like snow. Of course, they must have been worried. How could they not be concerned when their precious daughter went out with a grown man and didn't return until late at night? But now that she had returned safely, they probably didn't want to express their worry. I'm sorry. We lost track of time while having fun. But for Warren to drink to the point of intoxication? Did something happen? Nothing bad happened. She drank in good spirits. If that's the case, then it's fine. You must be tired, go back and rest. Thank you for bringing her back safely. It's nothing. I'll be careful not to let this happen again next time. I had no intention of worrying Song Woo-gyeong unnecessarily. Song Warren probably wouldn't want that either. Now that I knew, I could deal with that master on my own. Whether he's truly a lecherous bastard who deserves to die, or just a pitiful old man facing the test of lust for the first time. I'll find out when I check. Then I'll come to pay my respects formally on a brighter day. Please do. Song Woo-gyeong's satisfied smile clearly revealed his true desire to see Song Warren even one more time. As I was about to turn around, Song Warren, who was on Surang's back, suddenly raised her head. Hey! Byok R-I-Dan. While everyone was startled, she shouted with a dazed face. Who's that woman? Who's that woman you said danced well? Song Woo-gyeong and Surang's eyes widened at this unfamiliar side of Song Warren. I pretended not to hear and quickly left the place. Good heavens! She had been holding on to those words. Song Warren was truly a woman after all. The next day, I immediately began investigating the Ho Yun clan. Song Warren's master was Ho Yun Nam, 4. He was the third younger brother of Ho Yun Se, 5, the head of the Ho Yun clan, and a figure with considerable fame in the martial arts world. This much was easy to find out, but what was important was why he had come to Shandong. Unexpectedly, I was able to learn this through my father. The martial arts world of Shandong is not looking good. What's the matter? Do you remember Ma Jongsu from the Heavenly Blade sect who came down earlier? Of course. I thought he had just retreated, but it seems he actually died. I showed a startled reaction. What? Who did it? There's a rumor that the night merchants of Shandong killed them. I see. Fortunately, the rumors had spread as I had intended. Someone named Yeonhwa, 6, has come down from the Heavenly Blade sect to investigate the matter. Yeonhwa of the Cutting Sword, 7. He was a person I knew about. He was called the Slaughterer within the Heavenly Blade sect. When the Heavenly Blade sect wanted to eliminate someone, he would step forward. He wasn't an assassin. When someone needed to be overpowered, he would take action. In any case, the fact that they sent him down meant that the Heavenly Blade sect had made a strong move. It meant they were going for revenge, not negotiation. How are the Night Merchants responding? The Night Merchants are an organization whose true nature is unclear. There are Night Merchants all over the Central Plains, but it's not known how they are connected. They too have called for help, not wanting to be passive victims. Could it be? I heard that a master from the Ho Yun clan has come to Shandong to mediate this situation. Now I could understand why Ho Yun Nam had come here with his disciples. It was to help the Shandong Night Merchants. The fact that they could move the Ho Yun clan meant that the Night Merchants were not just some small-time operation. In the end, both sides would fight fiercely. Not only the Heavenly Blade sect and the Night Merchants, but even the Ho Yun clan didn't sit well with me at the moment. There was the issue with Song Warin, and their alliance with the Night Merchants. Well, now that things have come to this, I need to closely observe their movements. And if there's anything to gain in the process, I'll try to gain as much as possible. After all, the division among my enemies was an opportunity for me. Chapter 76, at the end of Branch of Fate, 4. Song Warin woke up close to noon. Her head felt like it was about to split open. Only after drinking several bowls of cold water mixed with honey brought by Suran did she finally come to her senses. Ah, how much did I drink? Just then, a voice came from the door. You drank like there was no tomorrow. She turned to see Byok Aridan standing there. Suran, who had guided him in, made a gesture of hitting Byok Aridan once before disappearing. Are you all right? No. My head feels like it's going to burst. I can't remember anything from yesterday. Then you probably don't remember biting me either. What? Song Warin's eyes widened. Bite? Me? You? Byok Aridan nodded firmly. Why on earth would I do that? Her voice trembled from the shock. Biting someone? She never knew she had such a drinking habit. Want me to tell you everything? As Byok Aridan grinned triumphantly, she shook her head. No, just forget it all. After saying that, she chuckled. Her head was pounding, and her stomach was churning, but she felt relieved. Truly relieved. She had told him everything she had been holding in her heart. Words she had never spoken to anyone before. Even though she had said them in a burst of emotion, she didn't regret it. Byok Aridan asked carefully. Are you going to meet your master? No. I don't want to. At her firm answer, Byok Aridan spoke again. I think you should meet him. What? Otherwise, you'll never be free from that incident. But? I'll go with you. Song Warin raised her head and looked at him quietly. Byok Aridan asked with clear, deep eyes. Do you think that old man is so great? Song Warin was silent for a long time. Finally, her conclusion came out. No. My master is the pathetic person. Once he had the intention to violate his disciple, even if he didn't actually carry it out, he was a pitiful and pathetic person. The branches of fate don't always bloom with beautiful flowers. Sometimes, rotten fruit can also hang from them. Byok Aridan looked at her and spoke calmly. Wounds that aren't worth keeping should be shaken off when the opportunity comes. Song Warin, who had been staring intently at Byok Aridan, said, Can we do something else first? What is it? She clutched her stomach and said, Please, let's have some hangover soup first. I feel like I'm dying from this upset stomach. Ha ha ha. Byok Aridan laughed loudly. Song Warin laughed along. It was the moment she smiled the most brightly since they had met. When Ho Yuntak returned to the Gu clan manor, his master Ho Yunnam was polishing his sword in the room. He was in his late 50s, with grey hair at his temples. His overall impression was angular, with stubbornness evident in various parts of his face. The somewhat empty look in his eyes as he gazed at the sword gave off a somewhat dark feeling. Master, I'm back. How did it go? Ho Yunnam asked without taking his eyes off the sword. The slaughterer Yonhwa is currently staying at the Myeongsu Mansion, 1. He came down with 5 subordinates, known as the 5 Friends of the Heavenly Blade, 2. It's said that their martial arts skills are not to be underestimated. Ho Yuntak looked a bit worried. The disciples who had come down with the master this time totaled 15. Although they had the numerical advantage, some of the disciples still lacked experience. On the other hand, the skills of the slaughterer and the 5 Friends of the Heavenly Blade were already well established. Even if the master took on Yonhwa, he wasn't confident whether they could handle the 5 Friends of the Heavenly Blade. I think we should receive support from the night merchants. The hand polishing the sword stopped abruptly with a nervous twitch. Are you afraid? Ho Yunnam's cold question was full of disapproval. No, sir. Ho Yuntak answered quickly. He was truly terrified when his master became serious like this. I meant we should prepare in case they call for other experts. That won't happen. The slaughterer is not one to rely on others' strength. He thinks he's the best. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry, master. With that, the frost-like aura dissipated, and Ho Yunnam asked quietly. Do you know why I volunteered for this task? Why is that? Someone like Ma Bongji should never have become the alliance leader. To think that the likes of the Heavenly Blade sect would try to manipulate the martial arts world at will. It's absolutely unforgivable. Ho Yuntak knew well how much his master respected the previous alliance leader. He almost deified Cheon Hajin as a martial artist. But with Cheon Hajin's death and Ma Bongji becoming the alliance leader, his antipathy towards the Heavenly Blade sect had reached its peak. When the night merchants requested help this time, everyone was reluctant to step forward, but Ho Yunnam volunteered. I will eliminate Yonhwa with my own hands. Ho Yuntak was shocked by those words. The word eliminate should never have been uttered. The original reason they came here was to mediate between the Heavenly Blade sect and the Shandong night merchants. The plan was to persuade Yonhwa and resolve the issue with money. That was also the order from Ho Yunse, the head of the Ho Yun clan. In this situation, to eliminate Yonhwa? It was unthinkable. His master was a person with great pride in his martial arts. But the reason he was so worried was that he knew his master's skills didn't match up to that pride. The reason his master liked Cheon Hajin so much wasn't because he knew Cheon Hajin as a person. He didn't know much about him. The reason his master respected him was because he was the world's greatest. What his master had so desperately wanted to achieve, but never even came close to, that one position in the martial arts world. What his master loved was ultimately that title. Perhaps his master had been living vicariously through Cheon Hajin his entire life. After Cheon Hajin's death, his master became even sharper and more sensitive. He was never a bright person to begin with, but he became even darker. Master, I'm worried. Of course, you can eliminate Yonhwa, but the ones behind him are the Heavenly Blade sect. I'm concerned about how we'll deal with the aftermath. Even though the Ho Yun clan was one of the 4 great families of the martial arts world, it would be difficult to go against the Heavenly Blade sect, which had produced the alliance leader. Killing Yonhwa would become a big problem. That's not for you to worry about. When his master responded like this, he couldn't bring up the topic any further. I'll take my leave then. As Ho Yuntak was about to leave, he turned back and said, Oh, I happened to see Sister Warren. For a moment, Ho Yunnam flinched and stopped polishing his sword again. Is she doing well? Yes, she was with the young Master Byok, to whom she's engaged through prenatal agreement. For an instant, Ho Yunnam's eyes intensified, but then he resumed polishing his sword as if nothing had happened. Ho Yuntak felt the air around him become even more stifling as he quietly left the place. I ate steaming hot rice soup with Song Warren. We could have eaten at home, but we deliberately came out to eat at a nearby inn. After finishing her soup, she looked happy, as if she owned the world. Ah, now I feel like I can live. I felt relieved along with her. It really is good. During my time as the alliance leader, I used my inner energy to expel alcohol at almost every drinking session. But these days, I often get drunk. Whether drinking with Guangdu, Baekpyo, or her. So you carried me on your back when we went home? Yes. Her cheeks turned slightly red. But you drank a lot too, didn't you? It must have been difficult. I didn't get too drunk because I was tense while drinking. Why were you tense? You were drinking so recklessly, I thought at least one of us should keep their wit about them. A slight smile appeared on her lips. Thank you for yesterday. She lowered her head and couldn't meet my eyes. Now that she thought about it, she seemed to feel embarrassed for various reasons. Plus, she had even cried. I think it's the first time I've cried since the day my mother passed away. Do you feel better? She nodded slightly while keeping her head down. You asked me before, right? Why I dislike the alliance leader? Because someone you dislike likes the alliance leader. Oh, could it be? That's right. My master liked the alliance leader. I see. Damn that old bastard. The fact that such a person liked him made me feel even worse. Regardless of my feelings, I felt it again. How Byok Aridan's life was once again connected to my past life. She asked with a still fearful and worried face. What should I do when I meet my master? You should receive an apology for that day. Formally, properly. Will that have any meaning? I nodded firmly. It will. Whether to speak or not, whether to receive an apology or not. It might seem trivial, but there's a big difference. Will my master really apologize? We'll know when we meet him. Of course, the purpose of getting an apology is to heal her wounds. I plan to investigate him on my own. If, apart from what he tried to do to Warren, he's a person who deserves to die for other evil deeds, I'll kill him after making him apologize to her. If not, and he's just a pathetic old man, then he's someone who will fade away one way or another. I'll set the time to meet your master. Is that okay? She nodded. There's one thing we need to do before that. What? Shall we go out for a bit? I took her out of the inn. We walked as if taking a stroll and entered the forest behind the inn. After confirming that there was no one around, I drew my sword. What do you mean? Let's have a match. What? She looked at me with a surprised expression. Gasp! Don't tell me you want to beat me up again. Ha ha ha. I don't think this is something to laugh about. Sorry. I'm really sorry about that time. Only then did a hint of mischief that she had been hiding flash across her expression. I could feel that one of the boundaries in our relationship had crumbled. I'm starting to see new sides of her beyond that wall. Why do you want to have a martial arts match? Because we need to perfect the counter technique before meeting your master. She looked at me with an expression that couldn't understand why we needed to do that. But a moment later, she was shocked. You don't mean? Yes, you'll defeat him using the martial arts you learned from him. That's impossible. It's possible. How? Have you forgotten? That there's a critical weakness in the moves of the martial arts you learned? I'm saying let's have a match using that martial art. Ah. I don't think her master will apologize properly, and I don't believe that just receiving an apology will allow her to completely break free from the past. To truly break free, she needs to overpower him with martial arts. In other words, she needs to beat him herself. Only then will she truly be able to break free from her master. What I'm about to say might hurt your feelings. But I hope you'll listen. She nodded slightly with a tense expression at my words. After the match with your master is over, discard the martial arts you learned. What? She was shocked by this unexpected statement. How could a martial art with an existing counter technique be perfect in the first place? But you're thinking, how can I throw away something I've learned for 5 years? Still, throw it away. My tone was firm. During those 5 years you were learning, the Song clan probably sent a lot of money. This was also a way for famous sects to make money. The renowned experts of the sect raise several secular disciples. They can call upon them later when needed, and they can also make money. It's truly killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The martial art you learned, it's not the Ho Yun clan's exclusive martial art, right? She nodded again. Your martial art isn't worth dedicating your life to. They probably brought in some decent-looking martial art from somewhere and taught it to you. Of course, if you're only going to face nameless second-rate martial artists in Shandong, you can keep learning it. Of course, this was by my standards. From your father's or Song Wugayong's perspective, her martial art might be considered quite good. It's good enough for them to teach under the name of the Ho Yun clan. But since I've intervened, I want her to discard that martial art. Song Warren's expression had hardened. She must feel like her past life is being denied. Finally, she spoke with difficulty. When I think about my master, I feel so upset and angry. Yes, I want to throw away the martial arts I learned from him. But if I discard the martial arts too, I will have wasted the past 5 years. That's why if you can't give it up, those 5 years will become 10 years, 20 years, and eventually your whole life. Because it was a painful truth, it must feel like a sword piercing her heart. Okay, let's say I throw it away. What do I do from now on? Are you going to throw it away or not? Be clear. After a brief pause, she said, Fine, I'll throw it away. Now she was trusting me completely. If so, I should repay that trust. I think there's something new you can gain when you truly let go. And what you gain anew will be much more magnificent than what you had before. Among the martial arts I know, there's one suitable for a woman to learn. Of course, it was a much better martial art than the one she had learned. She still wasn't fully convinced. That's natural. No matter how much I've changed recently and given her trust, she probably doesn't think my martial arts are superior to her master's. Rin. Yes? I thought there was no need for many words. So I said just one thing. Trust me. Her head, which had been staring at me silently, nodded vigorously. All right, I'll trust you. Chapter 77, Don't Look Back, 1. Leader, we're here. 2 men entered the Wind Tavern. They were martial artists from the Alliance Protection Regiment, with Yang Chong, 1, the burly one with a kind face, and Myongdu, 2, the youthful one with good looks. They were loyal martial artists who were particularly devoted to Baekpyo. They were truly Baekpyo's right-hand men. They were the ones who tried the hardest to stop Baekpyo when he was leaving, and he had to calm them down when they insisted on quitting along with him. Baekpyo looked at them and spoke as if scolding them. Leader? What if Leader Im hears this? Leader Im referred to him Jung Tai, 3, the former vice leader who had become the new leader of the Alliance Protection Regiment. Yang Chong smiled and said, Leader Im also keeps talking about you. He says he misses you and often threatens to quit, saying he shouldn't have taken the leadership position. Myongdu nodded, confirming that Yang Chong's words were true. Baekpyo chuckled. That guy, really? During his time as the Alliance Protection Regiment leader, Baekpyo was a respected leader among the group's martial artists. Naturally, he had a good relationship with him Jung Tai, who was the vice leader at the time. Not only Baekpyo personally, but the Alliance Protection Regiment's martial artists had an exceptionally strong bond. This was because the task of guarding the Alliance leader was truly a difficult one. It might seem like they were just casually chatting while guarding the gate, but the job of a guard was extremely challenging and difficult. Especially with the thought that the Alliance leader's life depended on them, the mental strain was several times greater than that of ordinary martial artists. Baekpyo smiled and said, Tell him it's tough there, but it's hell out here. Just say that even hardship is a blessing, and tell him to work hard. Ha ha, he says he'll drop by soon. You can tell him yourself. Tell him he can take his time coming. After visiting once right after the tavern opened, Im Jungtai hadn't been able to find the time to come again. But Baekpyo wasn't upset at all. He knew better than anyone how busy and demanding the position of Alliance Protection Regiment leader was. It was already grateful that he had come once at the beginning. The 2 men brought their own alcohol and drank. A moment later, when Baekpyo brought some side dishes he had prepared, the 2 men spoke with serious expressions unlike their usual selves. Leader, we have something to tell you. Baekpyo sat down in front of them, feeling tense inside. What is it? We want to quit. It was clear they weren't joking. Why? Well, the work is tough. That wouldn't be the real reason. The work had always been tough since they first joined. And there's no sense of fulfillment. This was the real reason. Guard martial artists worked solely out of a sense of duty. The pride of protecting someone. That's what allowed them to work without sleep despite the low pay. But they couldn't find such worth in Mabongji. They were trained to forget what they saw and heard. But how could they not have eyes and ears? While Mabongji was unsatisfactory on his own, they had also heard rumors that the Heavenly Blade sect faction was causing disturbances all over the Central Plains. Why should we protect such a person? After struggling with this sense of doubt, they had finally made up their minds. The 2 were particularly close to Baekpyo, so they came to him first to convey their decision. Do you have any plans after leaving? When Baekpyo asked, Yang Chang grinned and said, Can't we work as waiters here? Of course, it was a joke. Myeongdu joined in on the joke. I'll wash dishes in the kitchen. The two looked at each other and laughed heartily. But Baekpyo didn't laugh. When Baekpyo looked at them seriously, the two stopped laughing. Baekpyo spoke quietly with a meaningful look. Do you really want to do it? The two were surprised and looked at each other. They could tell that Baekpyo wasn't talking about working at the tavern. There was no need for 3 people to work in such a small place. No, he wasn't the kind of person who would suggest such work to them. They didn't ask what Baekpyo was proposing. Yang Chong spoke without hesitation. We'll do it. Myeongdu followed up. Just give us the order. Their eyes were still full of loyalty. Baekpyo smiled and said, this will probably be your last time as customers. Drink and enjoy yourselves to your heart's content today. There are times when I think that I'm still a martial artist at heart after all. I have such thoughts when evaluating women, and if I were to think about when a woman looks most beautiful, it would be right now. Swish! Song Warren's sword flew towards my heart. Of course, I'm not a pervert who finds women most beautiful when they're trying to take my life. What I mean is that I find women more beautiful when they're displaying their martial arts. And if it's Song Warren, how much more so? Those long, stretched legs, that slender waist, those perky breasts. That fantastic body and beautiful face. Even if the Empress of Pleasure were to seduce me with her sensual nude body, it wouldn't compare to her right now, gritting her teeth, drenched in sweat, thrusting her sword at me. After dodging the incoming sword, I shouted. Once more, again. Song Warren began to display her swordsmanship again. The move she was performing now was exactly the counter technique I had discovered. She will face her master with this counter technique. Again. Once more. Again. We repeated the same move dozens of times. You'll be very nervous when it comes to the real thing. Nervousness leads to mistakes. The only way to prevent that is through practice. There's no other way but to repeat until it becomes ingrained in the body. The human mind is very sensitive, and you never know what it might react to in the moment. You might fall for an unexpected provocation from your opponent, or your mind might wander to an unexpected distraction. But if the body remembers, it's fine. It's okay if the body reacts, ignoring the mind. Even if your thoughts are doing suicidal things, it's fine as long as your body reacts and survives. I taught her rigorously. Although I would be present when she faces her master, this wasn't my battle. It was something she had to handle. Once the move became ingrained in her body, I taught her one more thing. Even if your master counters the move and attacks, he will probably dodge. Dodge. I nodded at her surprise. So you need to finish with a consecutive attack. I didn't know whether Ho Yun-nam was aware that there was a fatal flaw in the technique he taught. But with his level of skill, he would certainly be able to dodge. Just prepare for 2 reactions. The case where he knew and the case where he didn't. I could predict how he would react. Our training continued late into the night. Around midnight, she was completely exhausted. This must have been the first time she had trained so hard. I sat down next to her as she lay on the ground, panting. Good work. At my words, she looked up at the night sky and said, somehow, it feels different from the training I've done until now. That's because your training until now has been confined within a frame. Frame? What frame? She raised her body. Although she was full of fatigue, her eyes were clearer than ever. It was that state where a person's mind becomes clearer when they're extremely tired. It's the frame your master created for you. A frame where your body and mind become satisfied when you train up to a certain point. A frame where it becomes difficult if you go beyond that. Do you know what else we call that? What? Limits. Ah. You're feeling something new because you've surpassed that limit today. We often say we need to surpass our limits, but we don't really know our own limits. We vaguely think that we should just try harder, right? She nodded at my words. That's exactly what she must have thought. But limits don't exist externally. It doesn't mean there's a line or rope somewhere that you need to cross. Then where are they? They're within yourself. Your usual behavior, habits, thoughts. Those themselves are the limits. To break limits, you don't just need to try harder, but the person themselves needs to change. It means your actions, thoughts, everything needs to change. Ah. She fell into thought for a moment. I gave her plenty of time to organize her thoughts. This is the most crucial moment for a martial artist. This moment can sometimes become the time when a martial artist gains an insight that can completely change their life. Eventually, she turned to me and said, "I might not understand completely, but I think I get it a little." "That's enough. You worked hard today. You were excellent." She smiled proudly, drenched in sweat. "Keep practicing the move you learned today whenever you have time. We'll be meeting your master in a few days." "Thank you. Don't mention it." As I stood up, I added one last thing. "Never forget. On that day, what you should trust is neither me nor your mind. It's your body that remembers the training you've done." I immediately infiltrated the Shandong night merchants. With my inner energy now almost reaching the 9th level, none of those guarding the night merchants could detect my movements. I had a feeling that my connection with the night merchants wouldn't end easily, and now I was getting entangled with them again. 2 people were conversing in the office of Yeon, the leader of the night merchants. They were Yeon and his right-hand man, Jiu Cheol. This was the same Jiu Cheol who had killed Saigon of the Heavenly Blade sect earlier. Surely he's not failing to come because he doesn't know the way? That bastard must be looking down on us, thinking he's from one of the 4 great families of the Central Plains. The night merchants had asked the Ho Yun clan for help, and Ho Yun Nam had come down. But even after arriving in Shandong, Ho Yun Nam hadn't come to see them. It doesn't matter. It's not like we've only dealt with the arrogance of those old fools from the orthodox sects once or twice. But isn't the situation different this time? We're dealing with Yeonhwa, the slaughterer of the Heavenly Blade sect. Yeon's groan conveyed his worry. "I'm concerned they might have other intentions." "Other intentions? I mean, what if they're just dawdling around, intending to pocket the money? Didn't we agree to pay them 200,000 taels to handle this matter?" This was the amount the Ho Yun clan had demanded. They refused to get involved in this matter unless it was for this amount. That wasn't all. They had to pay another 50,000 taels separately to the Jiangxi night merchants who had connected them with the Ho Yun clan. The Ho Yun clan was based in the Jiangxi area and had some sort of relationship with the Jiangxi night merchants. The Jiangxi night merchants had acted as a sort of matchmaker. So the total amount of money involved was 250,000 taels. It was incalculable how long it would take to earn that much money. Still, it's better than losing our lives. In this situation, Ho Yun Nam, who was said to have come from the Ho Yun clan, hadn't shown his face even after arriving in Shandong. "We should have just handled this ourselves." Yeon shook his head vigorously at Jiu Cheol's words. "Your hidden weapons won't work against an expert like Yeonhwa. If we all rush at him at once, you'll all die at once." "Where is the slaughterer now?" "He's staying at the Myeongsu mansion with those called the 5 Friends of the Heavenly Blade." "Are you keeping a close watch?" "We're watching him in double and triple layers. But there's something I'm curious about." "What is it?" "Why is that slaughterer holed up in the Myeongsu mansion? If he's targeting us, why doesn't he come here right away?" Yeon narrowed his eyes and said, "Because he's not here to assassinate me." "What?" "He's here to take revenge on me. He wants to let everyone know about this, not just in Shandong but throughout the Central Plains. The slaughterer Yeonhwa has come to destroy the Shandong night merchants, so watch closely. He's gathering spectators and setting the stage. In the end, he wants to execute us publicly in front of everyone." Jiu Cheol frowned at Yeon's words. "But we didn't even kill Ma Jongsu, did we? I'll go and explain." "Would they believe us?" "It's already too late. When they killed Saigon of the Heavenly Blade sect, things had already become as complicated as they could get. I'll take responsibility and eliminate him. Stop talking nonsense and prepare to go out." "Where are you going?" "To meet Ho Yun Nam. If he won't come to us, we should go to meet him." The only ones they could trust now were the Ho Yun clan. He needed to escape and somehow turn this fight into a battle between the Ho Yun clan and the Heavenly Blade sect. "Why do you think he's dawdling?" "He probably wants us to give him something extra." Yeon manipulated a few books on the bookshelf behind him in a specific order. The bookshelf opened, revealing a secret door. He made Jiu Cheol wait outside and entered. A moment later, Yeon came out again. In his hand was a thick leather pouch. He tapped the pouch and said, "That bastard. He might despise and dislike us, but he won't dislike this." The two left the room. A moment later, a carriage quietly left the night merchant's quarters. I was clinging to the wall of the building, watching this scene. The window next to me was the window of the room where Yeon had been conversing. I had overheard all their conversation and saw Yeon go through the secret door to fetch the money. There must be a safe or a secret storage inside. The fact that he went in there in front of Ji Cheol means that there must be a mechanism that only Yeon can open. After staring at the empty room for a moment, I turned my head. What I need to focus on now is not the money, but their movements. Money shouldn't become the goal. As always, money should be the spoils that naturally follow when you achieve what you set out to do. I leapt in the direction where the carriage had disappeared. A guard on duty glanced up at the sky. I, who had crossed the sky of the training ground like a bird, had already vanished from his sight. Chapter 78, Don't Look Back, 2. Yeon was a seasoned man. Having experienced all sorts of people, Yeon immediately recognized that Ho Yunnam was someone who valued reputation and enjoyed receiving praise during their first meeting. If you step in, master, you could turn the slaughterer into nothing more than a chunk of meat in a butcher's shop. Well, we won't know until we face each other. Ho Yunnam disliked people like Yeon. No matter how mysterious they tried to act with terms like night merchant, they were ultimately trash who amassed wealth by charging exorbitant interest rates. However, when Yeon came to visit and immediately prostrated himself, claiming to truly respect him while laying on the flattery thick, Ho Yunnam unconsciously felt a bit more generous. We're dealing with the Heavenly Blade sect, aren't we? If you handle this matter, your fame will spread throughout the entire Central Plains. Ho Yunnam nodded slightly. Especially after Ma Bongji became the alliance leader, the influence of the Heavenly Blade sect had been skyrocketing. At a time when everyone was just watching and waiting, if he could stand against them and achieve good results, it would truly be an opportunity to build great fame. His desire to eliminate the slaughterer Yeonwoo was also due to this. At that moment, Yeon discreetly pushed forward the leather pouch he had prepared. I heard you brought many disciples with you. Why don't we have a drink together? It wasn't money for just a drink. He had put in as much as 10,000 taels. Why are you doing such unnecessary things? Ho Yunnam burst out in anger, but he didn't return the leather pouch. Yeon quickly bowed his head and said, It's just a small token of sincerity, please don't embarrass me. Whom? Ho Yunnam cleared his throat loudly. Yeon quickly changed the subject. He was experienced in reading the atmosphere and handling people. By the way, I've heard that the Heavenly Blade sect has been committing all sorts of evil deeds in the Central Plains, backed by the Alliance leader's influence. Yeon brought up the Heavenly Blade sect while observing Ho Yunnam's reaction. Now that he had fed him money, he needed to make him earn it. I've heard about that too. Especially this slaughterer Yeonwoo who came down this time, I've heard he's a particularly vicious character. Just then, Ho Yuntak's voice was heard from outside. It's Disciple Tak. May I come in for a moment? Come in. Ho Yuntak entered. He had already exchanged greetings with Yeon while guiding him here. I'd like to speak on behalf of my master regarding the handling of this matter. My master can't be involved in every little detail, after all. Ah, of course, that's how it should be. Ho Yuntak glanced at his master's expression. Entering the room without prior permission and stepping forward to discuss this matter could potentially anger his master. But he was worried that his master might promise to kill Yeonwoo, so he stepped in like this. Fortunately, Ho Yunnam showed no reaction, keeping his eyes narrowed. If my master steps in, someone like Yeonwoo would be dealt with in less than 10 breaths. Taking his head wouldn't be a difficult task. I believe that as well. However, we need to be a bit more cautious with this matter. After all, the alliance leader is behind Yeonwoo. So we're thinking of meeting them for negotiations. We need to find out how much they want. Of course, that's what you should do. This much was what Yeon had expected. After all, it was unlikely that the Ho Yun clan and the Heavenly Blade sect would engage in a life-or-death battle because of him. He was hoping they would mediate properly on his behalf. The problem was Ho Yuntak's next words. For that, we'll need the night merchant leader's help. Of course, if there's anything I can do to help, I'll do so actively. They will demand money. It would be good if you prepared in advance. Yeon was seething inside. So these bastards are telling me to pay more money. They were already paying 200,000 taels to the Ho Yun clan. Whether they negotiate with the slaughterer or fight it out, shouldn't they handle it with that 200,000 taels? If they needed to pay extra money, why did they bother calling in the Ho Yun clan? This can't go on like this. Yeon sighed and opened his mouth. I'm having financial difficulties due to the large expenditure for this matter. Regarding that issue, you'll need to speak directly to our main family. Yeon bit his lip slightly. Have I ever seen such shameless people? This is how powerful organizations operate. They tell you to talk to the higher-ups because they're just handling the practical matters, and when you talk to the higher-ups, they tell you to discuss it with the working-level staff. They keep sending people back and forth until they give up out of exhaustion. The conversation continued for about an hour after that. Yeon tried his best to persuade him, but it didn't work on Ho Yuntag. From the beginning, he deflected by saying they were just following orders, so there was nothing Yeon could do. Ho Yunnam kept his eyes closed, pretending not to hear anything. In the end, Yeon left, grinding his teeth inwardly. He could simply not give the 200,000 taels he had promised to the Ho Yun clan, but even that wasn't an easy choice to make. It would mean making another enemy besides the Heavenly Blade sect, and there was also the position of the Jiangxi Knight merchants who had acted as matchmakers to consider. Should I take all the money and go into hiding? If he did that, he would have to give up the gold mine that was the Shandong Knight merchants and live a life on the run forever. After Yeon left, Ho Yunnam took the leather pouch and went outside. Where are you going? Let me escort you. No need. You don't have to follow me. Ho Yunnam disappeared into the darkness, carrying the leather pouch. I tailed Ho Yunnam. I had heard all of their conversation earlier. Because Ho Yunnam's martial arts were excellent, I couldn't get too close, but thanks to my hearing becoming very sensitive after unblocking the Yim Dokyang pulse, I was able to eavesdrop on all their conversations from an appropriate distance. I was curious where he was going with the money in the middle of the night, but surprisingly, the place Ho Yunnam entered was a pleasure house. A renowned expert from the prestigious Ho Yun clan going to a pleasure house alone. It was truly unexpected. He called for all the top courtesans. He seemed determined to spend all 10,000 taels, indulging himself thoroughly. Another hour later, I was standing in front of a room in the pleasure house, concealing my presence. Ho Yunnam was sharing intimate moments with a courtesan in the room. Ha! Master! Please, do more! More! It seemed he had asked the courtesan to say such things. My heart sank coldly as I listened. 3 days later, I was standing in a field with Song Warren. We had called Ho Yunnam here. Song Warren had personally written a letter, so he would probably come. After seeing his true nature at the pleasure house, I didn't delay this matter any longer. For the past 3 days, I had watched Song Warren's training. I thought she was ready now, so I had her send the letter right away. The biggest reason I got involved in this matter in the first place was because of her. Especially important was healing the deep wound in her heart. In the distance, a person was walking towards us. It was Ho Yunnam. Song Warren tensed up when she saw him. No matter how much she tried not to be nervous, it was inevitable. After all, he had been her master for 5 years. Are you ready? She answered my question. I'm not sure yet. But at least I've practiced enough for the counter technique I'll use in the duel. While we were talking, Ho Yunnam was getting closer and closer. Song Warren muttered to herself as if reciting a mantra. Don't think of him as my master. This person is just an opponent I have to fight today. He's not my master. As she was steeling herself like this, I gave her one last piece of advice. I don't think you need to forcefully deny that he's your master. What? Accept it as it is. This person is your master. He's a pathetic man who felt lust for his disciple. He's a miserable person who tried to make a mistake under the influence of alcohol. No more, no less, that's exactly who your master is. There was a reason I was telling her this. When a person consciously tries to reject something too much, their body might have the opposite reaction. Rejecting the idea that he's not her master might prevent her body from moving naturally. I thought it would be better to accept it naturally. Your master is just a pitiful old man. With those final words, I took a step back. From now on, this is her fight. Song Warren's gaze turned back to Ho Yunnam. When she first saw her master again, although she didn't show it, she felt so afraid that her whole body stiffened. As she remembered that day, her body started trembling again. She's trembling like this, and yet she shouldn't deny him. She looked back at Byok Ridan. As if understanding her concern, Byok Ridan nodded once. Song Warren accepted the advice Byok Ridan had given. Yes, this person is my master. Yes, damn it. He is my master. Ho Yunnam walked up to about 10 steps away. Song Warren took a deep breath and stepped forward. Master. Have you been well? Yes. Ho Yunnam's gaze shifted to Byok Ridan standing behind her. He had heard from Ho Yuntak that she was with the one she was engaged to through prenatal agreement. So he knew immediately that this man was that fiancé. He had been excited thinking she would come alone, but now he felt displeased. Although an unfriendly gaze flew towards him, Byok Ridan showed no reaction. He was thoroughly leaving this matter to Song Warren. Why did you want to see me? He spoke as if he was calm, but Ho Yunnam's pupils were trembling. In contrast, Song Warren was composed. I want to have a martial arts duel. Ho Yunnam was surprised by this unexpected statement. A duel? Yes. I want to have a duel using the martial arts you taught me, master. Both you and I, using that martial art. Ho Yunnam looked puzzled, but Song Warren didn't explain the reason. After staring at her for a moment, Ho Yunnam accepted the proposal. All right, let's do it. Thank you, master. As Ho Yunnam drew his sword, Song Warren followed suit and drew hers. She was maintaining the utmost courtesy as if nothing had ever happened between them. Then, I'm coming. Song Warren launched herself forward, initiating the attack. Clang! 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 Ho Yunnam blocked her attacks using the martial arts he had taught her. Now that the duel had started, her mind was in turmoil. She was so nervous that she didn't even know what she was doing. But she was executing the moves perfectly. Now she could clearly understand what Byok Ridan had said. That the body needs to remember that today she should only trust her body that had trained. For the past 3 days, she had repeated only these moves. So even when the counter technique came into play, she didn't feel anything special. Now, this is it. Without even having such thoughts, the moves just naturally flowed. She only realized that one of her moves had broken through her master's defense because of Ho Yunnam's scream. Ah! Ho Yunnam, who had screamed, twisted his body and turned to the left. It was the latter of the 2 cases Byok Ridan had taught her. The case where he knew there was a critical weakness in the technique. When teaching the 2 cases, Byok Ridan had said, if he knows there's a fatal flaw, it's even worse. Because he taught it knowing that. Swish! Her body surged forward, thrusting her sword towards Ho Yunnam. An even more urgent and louder scream than before erupted. Ooh! At the same time, her sword slashed Ho Yunnam's shoulder. Splash! Blood spurted from his shoulder. Song Warren withdrew her sword and stepped back. She realized that she had defeated her master. Of course, if her master had used the Ho Yun clan's exclusive martial arts, she would never have won, but at least she had won with the martial arts she had learned. Ho Yunnam was staring at her with a blank expression. How is this possible? Song Warren spoke calmly. I'm returning the martial arts you taught me, ending with today. I will never use this martial art again in the future. What? I won't try to forget what happened that day either. Meeting a master who couldn't control his lust at the age of 20. I'll record it like that in my life. Ho Yunnam's face twisted unpleasantly. If she had cursed or resented him, he wouldn't have felt this bad. Song Warren bowed politely and turned around. At that moment, she felt as if something that had been stuck in her chest for a long time suddenly cleared. Byok Ridan was standing behind her, smiling. Well done. At my single phrase, she looked as if she could fly. She had brilliantly won her own battle. This fight today will make her grow and become stronger. Let's go. She nodded and walked with me. From behind, Ho Yunnam's shout was heard. Ah! It was a scream of uncontrollable anger. Feeling the threat as if he might rush at them from behind at any moment, she hesitated and stopped in her tracks. I said to her, don't look back. As you live your life from now on, don't look back at things that aren't worth looking back at. It's hard enough to live just looking forward in this world. I took the first step, and she followed with a smile. We left that place together. Is this the end, you ask? Of course not. This much is her revenge. My retribution starts now. And it had already begun a little while ago.